3 Julie Bravo, Wyman-Terra, how do you hear? MS 3 Julie Bravo, Wyman-Terra. Flight Sport 9 Mike Lima, I just saw that Skymaster fall out of the sky there. Head to your right. Do you see, is he on the freeway?
I just saw that Skymaster fall out of the sky there. Did he really say that? He just saw the Skymaster fall out of the sky?
Flight Sport 9 Mike Lima, I just saw that Skymaster fall out of the sky there.
I just saw that Skymaster fall out of the sky there. Did he really say that? He just saw the Skymaster fall out of the sky? Dan Greider, probable cause, it's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Sorry. Got several accidents to talk about here. I'm going to get a quick video out. First of all, I want to say thank you for your support. My idea for everybody giving me $1 or $2 works pretty good. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, but I've struggled with that and what to do about the YouTube. It's been kind of time consuming. Frankly, it's been very time consuming. So anyway, thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting Sydney's channel. If you didn't get to see my water ski video, her water ski video of her water skiing, go back and check that out. And I appreciate all you guys. Like, there was like 1 million people went over and added comments on Sydney Fowler's YouTube channel, and that was totally cool. She totally appreciated that, and seriously, you made her day doing that, so I appreciate that. That doesn't cost us anything to be nice to somebody and help somebody out, and I appreciate you doing that. We're going to talk about some accidents real quick, because that is kind of what I do. AQP for general aviation. This is we're going to talk about several right in a row. I know you told me not to do a whole bunch in a row, but I got to do several here. We're going to talk about this Mixmaster 337. Let's take a look at this. Here's the Catherine's report. Cessna 337 Super Skymaster, November 143 Juliet Bravo. That is not Juan Brown's airplane. April 2022, this is out in California, and this airplane was flown by a guy named John David King. Here's his pilot credentials. I heard him on the radio. He actually sounded pretty good on the radio. I think he's pretty experienced. He's a private pilot from 06 at least, so that's a pretty good amount of experience. Airplane single and multi-engine land. He's also got an instrument rating. And here's the flight path that he took. He makes a takeoff, and apparently after takeoff, he couldn't get his gear to come up, so he talks to the tower. He does the right thing. He asks for some help and stay in the vicinity of the airport. Let's go back and listen to that tape now and watch it in conjunction with the FlightAware tape right now.
Wyman ground, Skymaster 143, Julie Bravo, row 35, taxi 12 with Echo.
49 Bravo, Wyman Graham, my 12, taxi V Alpha.
12 V Alpha, Julie Bravo. Wyman Tower, Skymaster 143, Julie Bravo, holding short of 12 for left downwind departure.
3 Julie Bravo, Hoocher, 3 Julie Bravo, Hoocher, my 12.
Hold short of 12, Julie Bravo.
MS 3 Julie Bravo, my 12, clear for takeoff, make a left downwind departure.
Clear for takeoff, Julie Bravo.
MS 3 Julie Bravo, free exchange proof SoCal's on 120.4.
Julie Bravo, roger. And Julie Bravo would like to stay over the airport. The gear didn't retract all the way.
3 Julie Bravo, roger. Do you want to climb to 2500, or what do you want to do? What's the plan here?
I'm going to climb to 2500 and circle the airport.
MS 3 Julie Bravo, climb to 2500, make left hand racetrack pattern within the 210, the 5, and the 4 stack.
Between the 5 and the 4 stacks, Julie Bravo, 2500.
MS 3 Julie Bravo, Wyman-Terra, how do you hear? MS 3 Julie Bravo, Wyman-Terra. Flight Sport 9 Mike Lima, I just saw that Skymaster fall out of the sky there. Head to your right. Do you see, is he on the freeway?
729 Mike Lima, what am I looking for?
The Skymaster that just
So really, what Mr. King did here was get distracted by whatever else was going on. He definitely stalled and spun his airplane from about 1,000 AGL. Let's take a look at the AQP sheet here. This is accident caused by number 12. This is loss of speed awareness. He simply did not keep air flowing over his wings, and he allowed the airplane to stall. Remember, you can't spin it unless you stall it first. You can't stall it unless you exceed the critical angle of attack and get this thing going too slow. It's hard to do, to fight with a gear and mess with a gear problem. If he had his door open and messing with it, that's even worse. But at 1,000 feet, there is no spin recovery technique that's going to work for you. You're going to get a full turn, and your spin recovery technique is futile below 1,000 feet. And I'm not even sure if he attempted a spin recovery or not, but it didn't work. Avoidance, as we're going to see, not putting yourself in a box canyon is the theme of this video here. Hang on, we're going to go on to the next one here. The next one is 84 Golf Romeo. This is the twin Cessna from Covington just a little over a week ago. I actually went to this crash site, videotaped, took a look. Let's take a look at a bunch of the footage there. Here's the crash picture right here. Here's the fireball, and let's take a look at the camera, the video I was able to obtain from the surveillance tape. Let's take a look at that. So here's the fire immediately afterwards. Obviously, there's no surviving this. And let's take a look at the Catherine's report. This is the Cessna 340 Ram Series 6 conversion. It occurred April 21 near Covington, Georgia. And interestingly enough, I was there when they started pulling the wreckage out. I was there the very next day. They have already got the engine and the prop on this trailer. It's walking right past me, so I snapped some pictures and video of it. I thought it was interesting that Peter Knudsen with the National Transportation Safety Board said one of the two victims, the owner, was receiving instruction from a flight instructor doing touch-and-go landings when the crash occurred. Well, I looked at the ADS-B data, and I actually took an airplane and went out and flew the ADS-B data so I could take a look and see what my data showed compared to FlightAware. And here it is right here. Here's the path that these guys flew, and they did not do a touch-and-go. They actually, if they did a touch and go, their wheels were on the ground at some point, and the path of the airplane went lower after they left the vicinity of the airport. I think they flew down the runway at a couple hundred feet. I'm not sure why, but in the end, they ended up with the right engine either failed, feathered, simulator failed. They ended up with full power on the left engine, and right engine either failed or windmilling or something, and it pulled them hard to the right and it turned the airplane vertical. This is the spot that they ended up in right here, and I went to that spot. You've seen it on the clips there. Everybody else was out there too, taking a look at the crash scene. So I just had my first encounter with security, but come to find out they were aware that we're outside the fence and we're perfectly legal. Outside the fence, not inside the fence, and then I ran into a news station out here too, so let's go check that out. Tell me what your name is again?
Joy.
Joy?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What is this?
This is for mine.
Oh, it's for your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel. On the scene with Joy here, we just did a little interview for Fox 5 Atlanta, right?
That's correct.
And what do you think about being on the scene? Is this your first plane crash?
No.
No?
It's my first time on the scene of a plane crash.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's it.
Okay, all right. Well, Joy's out here shooting some footage for trying to explain how come this airplane crashed. Fox 5 Atlanta is the only one out here traipsing around in the woods to get this angle, and good on you. Great job.
Thanks.
Put your hat on.
Oh.
Next one we're going to talk about is Diamond DA40. This is November 321 Papa Fox. This is a tragic one. This is May 15th, 2021 in Paris, Idaho. The same airplane, 321 Papa Fox, is now involved in an accident a little bit later. So here's the next Catherine report. Same airplane, but a little over a year later. And here's the guy that was flying it. Him and his wife. Now, they had 4 people in this, 2 guys and 2 girls, and they're all pretty good sized Americans. They're pretty good. The pilot's name was Stephen Eichel, and he was a deputy sheriff. His brother Tom Eichel was a student pilot at one time, and then their wives / girlfriends also in the airplane. So the airplane, basically the DA40's got about an 800-pound useful load, including fuel and people and purses and everything. So they had to have been fairly close to being pretty heavy. And here's the path they took. Look at this on FlightAware. They made a takeoff and a right turnout, and they start to follow this road. And you can see that little shaded area to the right there. That's not rain. That is terrain. That's mountains out there. And I have flown out there. There is, when you go east out of here, in fact, there's a note in the facilities directory, climb to 12,000 feet over the airport before you even think of proceeding east. These guys did not do that. They took off heading east, and they started down this road here, leaving east. Let's take a look at this video. I built this off of Google Earth, and I'm going to show you what this thing looks like. Here's leaving the airport, and this is me on Google Earth leaving the airport. This is in 3D mode. They cross I-15, and now they pick up this little highway. See the highway right here in between the terrain? You could just see it down there. It's snaking around to the right, and then to the left, and then to the right. I've got the crash scene drawn up ahead. You can start to see it now. It snakes around now, continuously increasing in elevation is what we're doing. You're following the highway, but the elevation is getting higher. And now here's the crash scene. They tried to turn around because they could not continue to outclimb the increasing elevation, and they were trying to turn around and go back, but they stalled and spun the airplane. Here's a little bit better view. You can see the box canyon that they put themselves in here, and this box canyon was not survivable. They tried to turn this around. Now they're heavy and out of speed and aerodynamically loading the wing by trying to make a turn, and it stalled and it spun, and that's all you get on that. Here's a picture of the crash scene. It hit vertical, it exploded, fireball, everybody died. They should have used a little bit better superior judgment to not put themselves in that predicament. The weather was perfect, the airplane was perfect, there was no mechanical, there was no lightning, there was no tornado, there was no anything wrong. Just did not realize that the terrain was going to outclimb the performance of that DA40. Here's the smoke from the impact as seen from the highway just off to the right. You can see the little box canyon that they were in. They boxed themselves into a corner that they should have never been in. Prevention should have prevented them from even being here in the first place. Now let's look at the next one. Speaking of prevention, this Bell 429 Global Ranger, November 507 Tango Juliet, just happened in Genesee County, New York. I wasn't really going to say much about this. However, I started to notice a few tendencies here, a few themes here. This airplane landed with no tail on it. Here's your pilot, James Sauer. James was giving instruction to another guy in a technique called vortex ring state or something like that. I'm not a helicopter guy, but James was given instruction. Here's the helicopter at the crash site. If you notice, it's got no tail on it. They chopped their own tail off, and I'm going to tell you how that happened. Now, what they did, I believe, is that they were doing training because of this previous accident. This one is from August 12th of 2017. Keep that date in mind. Here's your National Transportation Safety Board just came out with their final probable cause on that. Do you want to see it? NTSB probable cause after almost 3 years of holding on to this thing. They say the National Transportation Safety Board determines the probable causes of this accident to be the pilot's loss of helicopter control after entry into vortex ring state, leading to a high state of descent to the ground with the right spin. Contributing to the accident was the pilot's lack of recent and recurrent training in vortex ring state recognition and recovery. Well, there's some grab words for you here. Vortex ring state. I'm not a helicopter guy, but I know basically the concept here is this new thing. Helicopters are old, but vortex ring state training is something new that they're talking about. And What happened was the NTSB produced their report. Check this out. They didn't build their docket till May 11. They created the docket. They hoarded all this information until May of 2020. Then it's last modified on May 14, not even including the final probable cause in their docket. They close this thing off. They keep all the information and don't leave it for the public until the very, very end. Then they publish their docket so you can see what the cards they've been holding the whole time. Here's their release. Now, this is the Virginia crash. This is the Virginia State Patrol crash we're still talking about from 2017. 3 years later, they released the wreckage and the probable cause, and it took them a long time to finally give the wreckage back. There's not much to look at in this wreckage. Let's take a look at this thing. This is a thing called a Varshard recovery technique. Notice the date on this video. This accident happens in August of 17, and immediately in September, actually on September 8 of 2017, this Swiss guy named Varshard comes out with this technique that he wants everybody to do called the Varshard recovery technique, how to escape a vortex ring state. And I'm going to explain what that is, but let's take a look at his video here now. So they filmed this in Switzerland, and apparently the instructor, Varshard, is a Swiss guy who's trying to get everybody on board with this concept. Basically, Varshard Recovery Aviation Safety Foundation is trying to get you to get on board with this new concept of using a new technique called the vortex ring state. Varshard Recovery Technique. He's named it with his own name and called it a technique. Now, he's passed this on to Robinson, Tim Tucker, and Robinson is buying off on this as a really good idea and thinks that he ought to put the Varshard technique for all of his students. The Varshard recovery technique requires special flight training with qualified flight instructors for this purpose. Well, what is the technique? It's something advanced where you add power opposite something, roll it to the right. It's a very So now, even AOPA gets on board. Check this out. Helicopter technique, escape the vortex. AOPA writes an article, new settling with power recovery technique, and they want to talk about a technique for getting out of this problem that you never should have been in the first place. Again, I'm not a helicopter guy, but I'm going to paraphrase for you here. This is a technique where you can go out in flight training and learn how to do this technique, but you have to train to do it. What happens is during this technique, you can get the airplane going too slow. I'm calling it an airplane, it's a helicopter. You can get it going too slow, and the blades actually start to flap, and they flap so much that they chop your own tail off. So that's what's happened several times before. The Texas R-44 cadet crash, November 514 Charlie Delta. You're looking at the Catherine's report right now. This is March 25, 2022. These guys are going out to practice the Varshard technique as recommended by Tim from Robinson Helicopter, and they're going out to practice this thing. What do? They end up chopping their own tail off also. That airplane comes down. My point is here, check this out. A superior pilot uses his superior judgment to avoid situations which require the use of his superior skill. In other words, when we fly airplanes, fixed-wing airplanes, I don't give my students a technique for a stall spin recovery based to final. I tell them, don't get into a stall spin based to final. You pay attention to what you're doing, keep your nose down, keep your speed, mind your business, and do what you're supposed to do. A helicopter should never, close to the earth, should never be in a position where you need this advanced Varshard technique, period. There's criteria that you can fly. I don't know what they are, but you can operate your helicopter such that you don't need this emergency escape maneuver. Don't put your helicopter in that position in the first place. A superior pilot uses his superior judgment to avoid situations which require the use of his superior skill. Period. Now, what happens in the case of 507 Tango Juliet? Bingo. They read the AOPA article. They know about the state police crash from Virginia. They know what happened in Texas with the Bell. These two guys, now they want to go out and try it. And what do? They chop off their own tail, practicing the Varshard technique. I'm not exactly a fan. I don't know enough about the technique because I'm not a helicopter guy, but I'm not a fan of doing this stuff close to the earth. I'm not even a fan of doing anything where it's the potential of putting the blades in a position where they could actually flap so much that they chop off your own tail. Doesn't seem like a good idea to me. That's what happened here. Here's the memorial for one of the guys. There was 2 people on that helicopter. That was just a recent one in New York. So once again, it's like we went through in the 70s and 80s. We were killing more people doing spin training than we were in spins. Avoidance is my deal. Now, let's summarize here. 13 dead bodies in this video that I've referenced. These end numbers, 13 dead bodies, all of them centralize around one theme. Not enough molecules flowing over your lifting surface. It's airmanship. You have an airman certificate. Use some airman. Prevention is what you want. Don't get wrapped around the ankle on memorizing these incredibly fancy techniques for saving your life last second. Don't get in there. There's a few biker bars that I've been into that I had to use superior skill to get myself out of. I should have used superior judgment. To have never been in that biker bar in the first place would have been a lot better idea. I've gotten a little older. I've gotten a little wiser. I hardly ever do that kind of thing anymore. Anyway, that's your lesson on these 13 lives lost. Our condolences and wishes to these family and friends. They're all tragic losses. I'm hoping that we can learn from these. Prevention is where we got to go. AQP is a prevention-themed program. I didn't invent it. I stole it from the airlines. It's prevention. It's learning about the scenarios that can kill you and teaching you to not get into them in the first place is all it is. You can support me by airborneanimalrescue.org. I won't beat that up, but the thing worked really good. I had like 700 or 800 people give me $1 or $2. I had several people give me more, and I appreciate that. Please don't go crazy on donations. I'm not asking for much money. I do need a little help to produce this content. This content takes a long time to gather, organize, script it, although I don't really have a script. This takes a lot of effort to put one of these things together, shoot it, edit, render it, upload it, fine-tune it, and get it on the air. It's a massive project, and I spend a tremendous amount of time. If you like this video and it was worth it and you learned something off of it, that's fine. 4 things here: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and Zelle. Any one of them, dan@dangrider.com, or you can go to my website for my dog lift website, airborneanimalrescue.org, and there's a donate button. Don't donate very much to me. I don't deserve it. Don't donate more than $1 or $2 at the very most. If you can, that would be totally cool, and I very much appreciate it. Your donations are helping to keep this content going, because frankly, otherwise, eventually I gotta go back and do some work and not do so much YouTube stuff if I don't get some help on burning up the number of days I'm burning up producing this content. So gotta go, gotta get out of here. Thanks for watching from my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Grider. Probable cause. 1, 2, 3, 4.